full employment and higher wages. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this article from news.com.au written by Jason Murphy. So, how Australia aiming for full employment could lead to higher wages. So, it hasn't been since the 70s, but the Reserve Bank is finally aiming for something that could see all of our pay packets drastically increase. I'm being skeptical here. The RBA's ability to influence wages is just golden. So how would you like to live in a country that got rid of unemployment? Sounds nice. Well, now you might just, there's a real way, just remove welfare, then you'll get rid of unemployment. Right there, people will work. Sounds nice. Well, now you might just have the chance with the announcement last week of the RBA boss that he is now aiming to get Australians to full employment. So you know what they're going to do, everyone. We know here. We know. We're all becoming more and more cynical the more we watch. What they're going to do is they're just going to change the definition of employment. So you only have to think about a job. You just have to think. Within a 4-year period, you need to think about working. And then you're employed. Full employment. Fantastic. Because I don't know about you, but that 1 hour a week during that period of the survey results, it's just too much work for me. I can't do any more than that, guys. 1 hour a week. Come on. It's tough. Here's Roy Morgan. This is an alternative to the ABS. They're saying our unemployment and underemployment is sitting at 21% right now. They have a different methodology to the ABS, everyone, with regards to how they survey it. ABS is saying we're at 6.4% unemployment rate. Now, the issue is here, you've got government interventions into the economy. You're always going to have some unemployment. You've got minimum wages, everyone. Some people just aren't capable or useful enough to warrant that. Oh, no, Florian, you're being mean. Seriously, guys. And you're pricing people out of the market. You're putting an artificial floor in the market so people can't negotiate maybe a lower rate, maybe other conditions. You've got all these jealousy taxes as well. You've got fringe benefit, all of this other rubbish. So you're always going to have some unemployment. And if you have taken advantage of any of these government interventions in the market, I would argue you have a duty of care to those people that you're pricing out of the market. So hence you need to have welfare. Can't complain about it if you've ever been employed in the market which has had artificial interventions in it. That's just the reality of it. I would argue perhaps we need to experiment with removing some of these interventions, maybe in select special areas of the country, and then offset those other costs by reducing other government burdens on those citizens. But I can't see there being the political will there. I'm hoping given time we'll shift the Overton window so that won't be put forward as such a radical political idea. Maybe if Australians become a little bit more independent and realize that the government's coming to help you, tend to not. Anyway, back to this. So that's right, after years of mucking about, Australia's central bank is going to drop the hammer and go for it. Oh boy, just hearing this makes me think housing is going to go to the bloody moon. They're just going to pump so much money, so much cheap. What do they do? Cheap money everywhere, a bit of regulation. They're just going to stuff it up. Unemployment could drop from its current level of 6.4%. Remember, that's ABS. Roy Morgan is saying it's about double, to around 4%. The Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe said, maybe even lower. When pressured, he admitted full employment might even correspond to an unemployment rate of 3%. As the next graph shows, Australia last had true low employment in the 70s. Look at the glorious period from 1940 to 71. Those were bountiful days where everyone who wanted a job could get one. And finally, we're saying it's worth trying to get back there. Well, that's when my family immigrated here. My father's cousin immigrated to Australia. He got off the ship at South Australia and he walked in the Holden factory and got a job. My father immigrated here with his first family. And he got off the boat. And I think it was holiday period, so he couldn't get a job. But then he found one working for the government. Concrete housing project, I think it was. It's different times. So, why weren't we doing this all along? The answer comes from thinking about the economy like an engine. You want it to be warm, but not too hot. In the economy, employment is like speed and inflation is like heat. If you smash the accelerator, you can go really fast, get low unemployment, but you risk ending up with an engine that is overheating, high inflation. There's a trade-off between unemployment and inflation in the short term, and economists are frightened of inflation. Justifiably frightened. Well, we get it. We're getting inflation now. Regardless of what people are saying. At least I'm noticing it in my bloody food. So do we have inflation now? No, inflation is low, except if you're trying to get into housing. But don't worry, we don't count that in there. It's not important. People sometimes write to me to tell me inflation is off the hook because something that cost $1 a decade ago costs $1.40 now. Nope. That's consistent with inflation of about 3% a year. People are good at noticing price changes, but bad at noticing the time period the changes have happened. High inflation is not prices rising by 40% in a decade. It's prices rising by 40% in 2 years. Here's an example to show you how bad 16% inflation will be. After 10 years, at 16% inflation, something that originally cost $1 would cost $5. Imagine if petrol had gone up to $5 a litre since 2011. There'd be riots. People get cross when it goes over $1.50. There's a reason we try to keep inflation down. The traditional term of inflation is simply an increase in the money supply, not relating to the increase in cost of goods. And then you get the candle-on effect bubbling up where that money supply enters the economy. I'd say housing. Is money supply increasing? Let me know. But we don't. The Keynesians don't talk about it, don't agree with it like that. Remember, guys, economics isn't so much a science as an art, because there's all the psychological factor as well involved. There's a reason why we try to keep inflation down. Well, inflation it's a hidden tax. The politicians love it. They can use it to just siphon money away from you to spend on stuff. This is why the MMT is scared the shit out of me, because their whole economic thesis will just go evolve into more and more authoritarian government control. So that 16% inflation is not some arbitrary number. That's how high inflation was in the mid-70s, as the next graph shows. There you go. Look at that. Imagine the interest you'd be getting on your money there. Getting inflation low and keeping it low was the big achievement of the last 30 years. This has been the big job of the RBA since the early 1990s, targeting inflation. They are forever tweaking the interest rates to try and keep the economic engine warm but not too hot. When they cut rates, they're trying to make the economy run hotter. More spending, more borrowing, more wage growth, slightly higher consumer price inflation. But now inflation is really low. It's turned negative briefly this year. Well, that's if you count the free money people were getting for childcare. It's dubious. And it's been years since it was 2 or 3%, the range the RBA aims for. What's more, the same is true of most economies. There hasn't been high inflation in Japan, the US, or Europe for years. The theory is now the world has changed. We can smash the accelerator without generating too much heat. We can get unemployment way down without generating dangerous inflation. Inflation is consumer goods anyway. Housing is another story. That's the problem. But we've been looking at shipping costs. Remember container shipping? That's been increasing significantly. We're going to start to see that manifest in consumer goods here in Australia. Just wait. Just wait. So much of our consumer goods are imported. Shipping costs are through the roof. Container costs are through the roof. We'll start to see it manifest. Give it a couple of months. The last RBA governor, a man named Glenn Stevens, barely spoke about full employment. The current governor, Philip Lowe, talks about it all the time. He has made it his mission. We want to see a return to full employment in Australia and inflation sustainability within the 2 to 3% target range, he said last week. These are our goals, and we're committed to achieving them. Why? Why would you employ people? Why? Just buy houses. Buy houses. You'll make more money parking your money in a house than dealing with all the HR bullshit, dealing with all the red tape, dealing with all the green tape, dealing with all the hashtag Me Too issues now. That's a whole other world of employment that didn't exist before. Why expose yourself to that risk? Or even better, why hire an Australian? Why not offshore the work remotely overseas, where you won't have any of those inherent risks? And it'll be cheaper, less red tape. Do it through a contracting company and you can terminate them instantly when you need it. So, That's the problem, guys. The more rules and BS they put in the way of businesses to hire people, to fire people, to grow, the more people are going to find ways to get around it. We hired a lot of people. I enjoyed training up people and seeing them progress in their careers. I'm never going to do it again. I can't be bothered. I can't handle the stress and the cost associated with it, and it's not profitable. I'm competing with people as a small architectural firm with big firms that just send all the work overseas. What's the point in giving someone their first break? It's kind of sad, really. So if he can achieve that, it will be pretty exciting, not just for the unemployed and the underemployed, but for anyone who'd like a wage rise. There's not much chance of companies offering big pay rises when there's a large stock of unemployed and underemployed people out there. But when the labor market gets tight, they will need to offer more money to tempt people to come to work. Yes, and that happened. That happened when I was a student studying architecture. At QUT, you got to work part-time, or you studied for 1 day a week, and you were in the office 4 days a week. So that means you could run a job on 4 days a week. You can really learn some great skills. And we were paid 50% above the award because there was a demand for us. Don't expect to be paid 50% above the award if you have a low-skilled job. You need to find the ways to value add. And then the market needs to have the demand. But there's all these other impediments. It's not just the RBA pumping money into the economy that's going to drive up unemployment. There's all these other things. Negative gearing. It pulls money away from business into other sectors. I remember our landlord, he had a industrial design business. He made beautiful furniture that worked in public spaces at universities and councils all around the place. And the young guys wanted to get a share of the business because they were working in it. And he said, the business isn't where I made the money. I made the money in property. Every few years he'll buy a commercial property, do it up, move to another one, move to another one, move to another one. I see he keeps doing it. Where's the money? Lower unemployment, higher wages sounds idyllic, almost too good to be true. But at least finally we're aiming for it. So we'll have to see. I'm somewhat more cynical than Jason is of the ability of the Reserve Bank to actually make a meaningful difference on it. I think there are too many other issues with just hiring staff in this country. What do you reckon, everyone? Let me know your opinion and your take on this. Do you employ staff? You taking them on? Do you employ professionals or unskilled professionals? Do you think this will make a difference? Or are you becoming as cynical as me? Have you actually had to compete with businesses that offshore everything? Let us know your thoughts, opinions, and experiences in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.